Hey crew, I've got the key to this 22 Tesla Model Y long range. We are going to take it for a drive, but first let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. Up front, the Model Y could easily be confused for the Model 3 sedan. Both have this large, flat, uninterrupted panel on the nose, Tesla badge, expressive LED headlights and daytime running lights, LED fog lights down low with functional airflow in the corners, and a front air dam. The face is friendly. I'm just not going to go so far as to call it attractive. In profile, this one has the upgraded 20-inch wheels over the standard and ugly 19s. Now those 19s do get you the full 330 miles for the 22 model year. These cut that down to 318. They're wrapped in better Goodyear Eagle F1 tires, 255 section front and rear. There's a black piece covering the side view camera. You have body color matching door mirrors, black flush mounted door handles, and then stepping back to look at the profile, it's just that huge greenhouse. Looks a bit like a bubble car, not exactly sleek. And then getting to the back, things do improve stylistically here. I like how the roof flows nicely into this lightly duck-tailed spoiler. No carbon fiber lip because this is not the performance trim. There are these clean LED taillights, and then a large blacked out diffuser down low. The exterior of the Model Y in total is just kind of meh to me. Doesn't really do anything for me. And while this is not the most abrasive example of body panel gaps and fitment issues I've seen on Teslas, there are still some of those issues on this vehicle. Let's check out that interior though. Opening up and looking inside at the optional white on black interior, a little upcharge for this. And the Turo owner, yes, I got this car from Turo, compares these to marshmallows. And I think that's a fitting description for a variety of reasons. One, they kind of look like it. Two, the rubbery texture doesn't feel great. Kind of feels like marshmallows. But three, they are squishy and very comfortable, like I imagine sitting on a marshmallow would be. In the doors, we've got injection molding up top into white leatherette and then black leatherette for your armrest. White contrast stitching. One-touch up-down windows. I like that the doors are frameless. That's really cool. And then down low, hard plastics, but nice big door pockets. Stepping inside, really easy to do with that high roof. And then sitting behind my own sitting position at 6 feet tall, I've got so much knee room. And the foot pockets, gosh, the seat's set up so high that I can honestly fully stretch out my legs. I'm really comfortable, but then when I put my knees up, the seats are kind of shallow, so the thigh support isn't great. The headroom is, though. Look at this. Yeah, it's fantastic. You've got a couple air vents here, 2 USB-C ports, and without a drive shaft hump, it's so easy to slide into the middle where once again, I fit and can appreciate this huge glass roof. There's also, if no one's sitting in the middle, an armrest that comes down with 2 cup holders. Yeah, you're kind of set up in the back seats. That's a solid door close noise. Up front, seats are still marshmallows, but now they're heated. Does that make them toasted? And power adjustable. 4 one-touch window controls, 2 power fold door mirrors. You do it on the infotainment. Like the back doors, there's no door handle. You just hit this button here. More large door pockets, more hard plastics. To open either the front or rear trunk, you gotta tap things on the infotainment. There is a lever you can pull on the tailgate. Your charge port doors here. Now, the cargo space in the Model Y is awesome. 30 cubic feet of space behind the second row, plus these deep cubbies on either side, and a deep one in the center. You've got the front trunk I mentioned, plus if you want to fold down the seats, you just pull these tabs, and they do so quickly. That reveals 76 cubic feet of space, and for reference, that's enough for me to lay fully flat and not have my head hit the front seats. Looking at the dashboard, not much to look at actually. You have these 2 reconfigurable dials on the steering wheel. They control everything from your tilt and telescope of the wheel to the mirror angle to your following distance and cruise control. In fact, I'll just show you. So here, if you want to adjust the steering wheel, it says to use the left controller. Just listen to this. Ooh. Oh, did you hear those creaks? That doesn't sound good. The wheel itself, though, I like the small diameter of it. Feels good in the hands, nice and thick. There is your stalk on the left for your turn signals and wipers. On the right, it's for your drive selection. You don't have a digital instrument cluster at all like the Model S, so instead you have to look to the infotainment in the upper left-hand corner for your speed. Without that, though, the viewing angle out the nose is good. In the back, well, you've got thick D-pillars and a smallish window. Fortunately, you do have your multiple camera angles. There are 2 more for the side viewing angles that are not showing up right now. Maybe I do that. There we go. And this 15-inch screen is super responsive, high refresh rate, the graphics are excellent. Everything you need is here. You don't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but you do have some things that fill the gaps, like a message system that'll read your text for you to minimize distraction. I like this infotainment a lot. 2 wireless charging pads here. No gloss black in the center. Thank you, Tesla. There's this matte finish beneath which you find deep console storage. 2 cup holders. More deep storage in here. My main complaints about this cabin. There's not much to look at. Things are buried in menus, like, okay, you want to do climate control, adjust the air vents, you got to go in here and do this. The graphic is cool, but it's an extra step. You cannot argue with the space in the Model Y, though. It's just unparalleled on this segment. Let's take it for a drive. All right, nothing to fire up. No button to press to turn the car on, because the moment you open the door and sit your butt on this cushion, the vehicle turns itself on. So the only step from here to actually get moving is, look, I'll show you when I put my foot on the brake. It tells you exactly where to put your key card to activate the system. It's just behind the cup holders. Then it will allow you to engage a gear. So with the seatbelt on, we press up on the gear selector, and that prompts a lot of different camera angles, all in high resolution, along with your parking sensors on the left-hand side. And we'll, of course, begin with a turning radius test. See how the Model Y does. Cranking it. That is pretty darn tidy. It's better, certainly, than the Mustang Mach-E. Not quite as good as the just ridiculously tight little radius Volkswagen ID.4. Going over those first 2 bumps, ride quality feels pretty good too. And now for our horn test, as per usual. No one to scare, and okay, so that must have been one of the Easter eggs turned on by the owner of the vehicle. But the horn itself sounded robust. And we are starting off in the chill acceleration and comfort steering settings. And the regen braking on the Model Y actually takes a bit of driving to warm up. So it will get stronger the more time we spend behind the wheel. For now, it's not a true one-pedal driving experience. Am I going to make this? Yes. And the chill acceleration feels like I'm pushing my foot through some mud. It's definitely resisting, though if you press further into the pedal, it does uncork all of the acceleration available to you. I neglected to mention when we started off that we were starting, I want to say, at about 95%. It quotes us at 311 miles of range. You do have 330 miles of range in the 22 Model Y, but this one with those 20-inch wheels is at 318 miles. Although it is more optimistic, it starts us at 326 miles on a full charge. That's according to my test when I fully charged the vehicle. But with 95% juice, we should have all of the acceleration potential at our availability. An initial sense of the ride quality is that this is certainly softer riding than that Mach-E GT. It's still on the bumpier end of things. in no way rough, but not pillowy soft. And the cabin is, well, it's reasonably quiet at 50 miles per hour. There is a bit of panel squeak that I'm hearing behind my head. I want to say maybe at the C or D pillar, which is unfortunate. Now, I don't want to waste any time in getting us a number we can really sink our teeth into, so we'll go into standard drive mode. I've got my race box all set up here, and we are going to see how quick the Model Y long range gets to 60. And important to note, this one doesn't have the $2,000 optional upgrade to improve the 0 to 60 acceleration, so this is just basic long range. Here goes. 4.7 seconds, says the race box, and this does include 1 foot of rollout. That's quick, certainly. It is about 1/10 of a second quicker than the estimate from Tesla at 4.8 seconds. The most impressive part about that acceleration was actually not the 0 to 30, which was 2.18 seconds. It was actually the 30 to 60. It felt like it just... The mid-range is... It's shockingly quick. It really squishes you back in the marshmallow seats. That's kind of fun. Yeah, so okay, off the line. I mean, it's got the same battery. It's the same dual motor setup as the Model 3 or Model Y Performance. It's a single motor at the front axle, single motor at the rear axle, and a 75 kilowatt battery pack. So it makes sense that it's software tuning, really, that is getting you from the 4.8 seconds in this one to the quicker 4.5 seconds with the 2000 upgrade to the even quicker 3.5 to 3.6 seconds in the Model Y Performance. So off the line is really just the only part where you're losing it, where it's sort of like detuned. But mid-range, this hauls. This absolutely hauls. And it stands as a stark contrast to the Mach-E GT, which was ferocious off the line. I mean, what did I get? I got like 3.7 seconds, 0 to 60 in that one. Really quick off the line. But when you got to that 50-60 mark, it actually had a visualization of it starting to cut power. So it falls off the end there. This one just doesn't. It keeps accelerating. And having that nice domed roof, large windshield, big windows, gives you this feeling of space and with that luxury. It is time for a braking test though, and I can't turn off regen, so I'll just stomp on him here. We stopped in plenty of time. Those are actually great brakes. Wow. I mean, certainly just as good as the Mach-E GTs from like 59 miles per hour. It is sort of annoying that you can't turn off regen or even set any of the settings for it. As we'll see on the highway, it would be wonderful to just be able to take your foot off and coast for a bit, and you don't get that opportunity. And certainly for the braking test, you have the benefit of regen starting to work right away, but it's hard to have a full true test of the brakes. I can tell though that the braking performance there was strong. We stopped in plenty of time. The pedal had nice initial bite, or the brakes rather had nice initial bite, and the pedal stayed strong and resistant throughout the application. Yeah, the brakes are up to snuff, and the fact that they're even better on the Model Y Performance gives me some hope when you're stopping a 4,800 pound vehicle. Now granted, like the Mach-E GT, who knows how well they would hold up in a track environment. I did turn off traction control here so I can chuck it into this corner. Where there was ample understeer. Yeah, turning off traction control just meant it let the tires skid more. But you definitely have understeer without the Model Y performance and the ability to have different power application, it being more of a rear drive vehicle if you need it, and having different calibrations with the track drive mode that you don't have here. But the turn-in was really sharp, and it of course stayed flat. You have all that weight down low. It was still entertaining. It just, you have to bake in the assumption of understeer. Again, not being able to turn off regen, I don't get to coast on the highway, but at these highway speeds, the wind noise is definitely up by the window seams. Road noise, a bit more of that. Nothing terrible, but not luxury car levels. It's a good time to try out autopilot though. So you tap down on the gear selection twice, it engages autopilot. I can take my hands off the wheel for long periods of time before it flashes blue up there and makes me check in. And autopilot is very, very good. This is not the full self-driving beta that you can spend $12,000 on or get it in a monthly payment. But this is all anyone really needs, and it has this as standard. You do not get lane change assist, much like getting the blue light now, so it wants me to just grab onto the wheel a bit. You don't have lane change assist, much like the Mach-E GT Super Cruise or Blue Cruise doesn't have lane change assist. But this does reduce a lot of driver fatigue and works quite well. Holds it directly in the center of the lane, takes curves beautifully. Not too much fidgeting to stay in the center of the lane. Good time to mention, if you want to hear the sound system in the Model Y, I do have a night drive. You can see the vehicle driven at night, but you can also hear the sound system. I do want to give you a wiper test, so let's do that. And the fluid comes out of the wipers like a Mercedes-Benz, and it seems to get most of it. Okay, got some residual fluid there, didn't get it all, Tesla, and here, but it's a big windshield to take care of. And now that I have been driving this Model Y for a while, the regen is definitely warmed up such that we're good behind us. When I take my foot off the throttle, at higher speeds, it's not quite as G-force heavy. It's not completely slamming the brakes. But at low speeds, I want to say below 40 miles per hour, you really can just drive this vehicle with your right foot. It's a true one-pedal driving experience. I want to say just a bit more so even than that Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. And speaking of, it's time to talk pricing and competition. So Tesla nixed the standard range version of the Model Y. So now this is your entry point into this model lineup. So it's $60,440 to start. You don't have that $7,500 federal tax credit anymore. Tesla exhausted that a while ago. So it's a true $60,440. This one has $3,000 in options. It's got $2,000 for the wheels and then $1,000 for this white on black interior combination. So it's really $63,440. And that is, well, that's the same price as the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. That's one's a $63,000 car as well. And really, this can't be compared to the Mach-E Select because that vehicle has way less range. It's like 220 miles, way less power. It costs only $47,000, so a significant amount less. And Ford is still, they do still have access to that $7,500 federal tax credit, so that knocks the price down even more. This is really a competitor to that GT. The power for this Model Y long range, I don't think I ever said at any point, it's 374 horsepower, 376 pound-feet of torque. That's quite a bit less than the Mach-E GT's 480 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. The 0 to 60 figure is also a second slower in my testing. I got 3.7 for the GT. I got 4.7 for this Model Y long range. The range, though, is way better. 326 miles it gave me as an estimate at 100% juice versus in the Ford Mach-E GT, Ford says it has 270 miles of range. I only ever saw 242 at a full charge. So that's a big difference there. And that's going to mean that you're going longer between charges, or at the very least, if you're only just topping up overnight at home, you may never need to go to one of Tesla's broadly available and one of their most appealing aspects, their supercharger network of stations. So that's a big deal in this vehicle. The space is better in here. The ride quality is a bit better than the Mach-E GT. But one place where the Model Y definitely doesn't hold an edge over the Mach-E GT is aesthetics. I am reviewing both the Mach-E GT and this at the same time, and so in my driveway, my eye is immediately drawn to the Mach-E GT, and it's not just because it's yellow-orange. It just looks better. There's more going on the outside and the inside, and that's a big factor here. You know, range is big, but so is daily appreciation of what you're driving. And then there's the handling, whereas Mach-E GT really does have some rear drive behavior and is pretty entertaining in a corner. This and the understeer feel, well, it's monotonous. You want more out of it, and therefore I can see you also considering the Model Y Performance. And it's just $5,000 more expensive than this. Well, really, I would only even say it's $3,000 more expensive than this car, because the 21-inch wheels in the Performance are standard, whereas this, you got to pay for the 20s, and that cuts the difference down to $3,000. But the range is also not a huge difference when you consider that if you upgrade to these wheels, you're down to 318 miles versus the 303 in the Model Y Performance. But you're getting way quicker acceleration, you're getting a sport-tuned suspension, you're getting better brakes, you're getting those wheels, you're getting little bits of carbon fiber on the rear, and you get the track drive mode, which just unlocks so much more fun to drive aspects to this vehicle. I think really, don't even consider the Model Y long range, consider the Model Y Performance versus the Mach-E GT. And between those two, it's definitely more interesting. The Mach-E GT is absolutely going to be less expensive, not only to start, but then factoring in that federal tax credit. I don't know, I'd probably choose that vehicle because it's just as quick in a straight line. It's going to be just as entertaining in a corner, and then it looks so much better outside and in. I think it's got to be the Mach-E GT. That's the one for me. I hope you guys have enjoyed this POV drive review. If you did, please like, comment, and share the video. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to get notified. And I'll see you next time.